The French New Wave, also called in French, started in the late 1950s. France was changing a lot after World War II. A new generation of young people was growing up. They were tired of the old ways of doing things in everyday life and in the arts. For movies, this meant they didn't like the typical, old-fashioned films made in studios. These young filmmakers wanted movies that felt real, personal, and connected to their lives. They were inspired by Italian neo-realism, a style of filmmaking after World War II that used real locations and everyday people as actors. These new wave filmmakers also liked the ideas of a film critic named André Bazin. He thought movies should show reality as accurately as possible. He believed the camera should be like our eyes, observing the world, not trying to trick us into feeling a certain way. Bazin's ideas were really important to the new wave filmmakers. They wanted to make movies that were both beautiful and meaningful. The French New Wave wasn't a club with strict rules, but the films from this time did share some things in common. One big thing was that they didn't follow typical storylines. New Wave films often jumped around in time, used quick cuts, and did other things that made the story feel a little messy. Another important part of New Wave movies was using handheld cameras and natural light. This made the films feel real and like you were there, unlike the perfect-looking studio movies. The New Wave filmmakers also liked to improvise and film in real locations. They thought this captured the energy of real life. Sound and editing were also important. They often used jump cuts, where two shots are suddenly cut together, which can be surprising. They also experimented with sound that didn't match what you were seeing on screen. Two of the most important people in the French New Wave were Jean-Luc Godard and François Truffaut. Both started as film critics for a famous magazine. They helped shape the look and feel of the New Wave. Godard's 1960 film about a small-time crook who copies Humphrey Bogart is one of the most famous New Wave films. The film's jump cuts, shaky camera, and natural lighting changed how movies were made. Truffaut's 1959 is another important New Wave film. It tells the story of a young boy, Antoine Douanel, growing up. It's kind of like Truffaut's own life story. The film's honest look at being a teenager and the use of a narrator talking about his thoughts made it feel very real. Godard and Truffaut kept making movies for years, and their work was both loved and debated. Godard became more radical in his politics and films, and his later movies are often strange and experimental. The French New Wave didn't last long, but it changed movies forever. These filmmakers mixed art films and regular movies, creating something new that was both personal and political. The New Wave influenced filmmakers everywhere. We can still see its impact today. Things like focusing on personal stories, using handheld cameras and natural lighting, and playing with how stories are told are all common now because of the New Wave. The French New Wave showed us that movies can be powerful. They can question the usual ways of doing things and explore new ideas. It was a burst of new energy that changed movies and inspired filmmakers for generations to come.